Yo, what's up guys? We're here with a new Kassadin video. So, you guys might have seen me talk a bit about Kassadin on my stream, and I said a lot of things about this champion. That this champion is really weak, etc. And although this holds some truth, I think it's because I didn't understand the way that Kassadin was actually supposed to work. So, in the past, Kassadin used to be a completely different champion, and Kassadin has gone through a lot of iterations of his own self. So, there were versions of Kassadin where you were basically an assassin, just like in this clip here, literally just one shot, not even insanely fed. And from the second that you have one item, you just literally walk around the map, one-shotting everyone. I would not play to skill. And there's been also, tank Kassadin versions where you go Frozen Heart or Abyssal Mask. Now I think it's different. You're not really an anti-mage. I've lost 1v1s versus mages that I was way ahead of, even though I played it well. So Kassadin is in this like weird position now where he's kind of lost his identity. But regardless, starting off with this video, we are playing Airy Kassadin. Now Airy is very important in Kassadin, and the reason why is because, at least with my philosophy when it comes to Kassadin, I do not play Kassadin to scale at all. So this is like multi-tier, like 200, 300 LP MMR. You can see I'm trading very heavily. Like, I will happily fight, and you'll always see me do this when I play Kassadin, especially with Airy, is that I am not afraid to fight. And here is another point, another very important point when it comes to Kassadin, is I don't care about CS early game. I value trades on the enemy mid laner more than I value CS. You'll see games, even when I used to be Challenger with Kassadin, where I would be down like 10, 20 CS, and it doesn't matter to me. Because most of the time, the reason why people lose with Kassadin is one of two reasons. A, their enemy mid laner will invade their jungler, or B, they just die too much early game. Like, pre-6 is such a fundamentally important part of Kassadin, and that's why you see me play these setups with Airy, sometimes Scorch. In this lane, I didn't go Scorch because I don't need it. Lanes where you just usually get bullied, and then now you have at least some pressure. So for example, you see here Nunu invades my Vi, but because LeBlanc is so low, she ends up being fine. And in fact, it ends up being the enemy bot lane that becomes a factor here, not the LeBlanc. And now I'm in a position where LeBlanc is so low that even when I get ganked, it ends up being a 1-for-1, which is super worth. This is another fundamental concept when it comes to Kassadin. 1-for-1s are always worth for Kassadin as long as the wave is fine. I mean, this kind of goes for a lot of champions, but Kassadin specifically, if you die for shutdowns or you die for like 1-for-1s or 2-for-1s, as long as your wave is pushed, it's worth. Because Kassadin is a champion that outskills, so 1-for-1s are just really good. But as you guys can see, like, this part of the game for Kassadin, the early game, is insanely important to not mess up. And everybody usually messes it up. People usually, they play way too safe, they take too much damage, they have this idea that Kassadin is super weak early game, which, I mean, he kind of is, but you do have some tools to trade, and at least to have some pressure, so that your team and your jungler especially doesn't get completely screwed over. This position here, where your wave slow pushes into the enemy, where you're like level 4, level 5, is a very important part of Kassadin. Here Nunu comes and ganks me, I don't really pay attention to the minimap, so now I'm forced to flash, because you cannot take damage here. You have to stay full HP. Because right now what's going to happen is my wave is going to slow push into the LeBlanc, and she's going to freeze it for a while, and all you have to do at this stage is not die. It doesn't matter how much CS you miss. Here you can see me like staying really far back. If Nunu is mid, he's going to waste his time. Now, the reason why I walk up here is because I see Vi topside, I ping, and I just walk up, trade a bit, and try to push my wave in. Now, eventually I do get my wave in, and the Nunu doesn't come, so I end up being fine. But it's very important at this stage to just not die. If you die, your game is going to be very bad. Like, even here, you can see me staying really far back. I know the wave is going to push back into me. Vi is at golems, so I'm just waiting for my level 6. I don't have to die here for no reason. This is another important concept with Kassadin, and also phase on Kassadin is the level 5 when your wave usually slow pushes into the opponent. Now, there's a few ways to play this champion. Some people play him with Malignance. When you play Malignance, you go Malignance, Seraphs, basically full damage, and you power spike a lot faster, but you sacrifice your scaling. The second way is Roa. When you go Roa, you are weaker at level 11, but then you get your level 16 faster. So you sacrifice early game for mid to late game. And the third way is my way, or at least the old way that I used to play this champ. And I used to basically always play him with first item Ludens into full damage. I would not go Roa, I would not go Seraphs, I would go one mana item, and then I'd just go full damage. So I'm still going to experiment and see if that's still viable. But for now, I'm playing him with the standard Seraphs, Roa into Seraphs, into sometimes Malignance. So at this point, your lane becomes really easy. All you have to do is just poke her down with Q and just not get ganked, and eventually you're going to win. As you can see here, I'm just playing it slow. I'm waiting for my Q cooldown and just Qing her whenever my Q is up. And eventually what happens is she kind of gets bored, I think, because she ends up going for this really weird roam. So now Nunu comes, she pushes mid. I'm slowly poking her down, you know, and now she's going to roam bot. I think she realizes that she's not going to be able to do anything. I walk bot here to cover, get her clone, and now I end up getting Dove. However, I messed it up here. I think, you know, I went in too early, but I do end up getting a kill back. So this ends up being a 1-for-1. At least from my part. I kill Nunu and then I die. My teammates all died, so it wasn't really 1-for-1, but you know. But in my opinion, this was really worth, for me at least. So yeah, like I said earlier, as long as you don't lose CS, it's fine to trade 1-for-1s. In fact, the faster you get your items, the better. So anything that's going to speed that up is good. So here LeBlanc comes back, slowly going to poke her down, and here I'm just reacting to what she does. So here she goes bot, so I'm gonna roam and follow her. I kind of stay around here just to see what happens. I'm making sure that I stay out of vision. She goes in, I know she's not gonna kill anyone. I start fighting here a bit. I'm pretty confident, you know, like when Kassadin is at this stage, you are not weak at all. So we get one kill here, and then I get the Zaya here as well, which is huge. And at the end of the day, like, what you want to do is try your best to be around as many fights as possible, because the more fights that you stay around, the more likely it is that the enemy is going to make a mistake, just like they did there, which results in you getting fed. That's very important. That's why you have to have good map awareness. You have to be able to look at the map and really understand what's going on. Here in this clip, there's another fight. Now we're 3 versus 2. That's why I'm going in like this. Now that ult was bad. I ulted away. Didn't really have to ult away. And I flash in here. My team doesn't really want to fight for some reason, even though I was very confident that we could. Like you guys saw there, right? Like if my team fought with me there, then I probably wouldn't have even died. But I'm still happy with the outcome. I reset my shutdown as well, which is not bad, because what happens is if your shutdown doesn't get reset very early on, it will grow to 1k very quickly if you're snowballing. So as you guys can see there, I just went bot, got a few kills, went top side, got a few kills as well. Aatrox dies here, but I really don't care. So I've got my Roa as already Roa, and I went Mercs here as well, because let me explain to you guys now how Kassadin works if you do go this build. When you play with this build, your goal is not to one-shot people. You can't one-shot people. It's not possible with this build. Even with Malignance, a lot of time, it's very difficult to one-shot someone. You play this build to act as a disruptor. So what you do is you go in, you disrupt the enemy. Let's say you go on the Xayah, you get her to use her spells on you, and then you just ult away. That's what you want to do. Sometimes you don't even want to ult on top of them. You just want to ult towards them to distract them. It's the same thing that a tank does. When a tank plays, you either peel for your team, or you go on the enemy backline and soak up as much damage as possible. When you play with this build, you're not really soaking damage, but you're preventing damage. It's basically the same thing, but you don't take damage. So anyways, back to the game. Here, I'm feeling very confident. Now keep in mind, guys, I just started playing Kassadin again. It's been a while. You know, I've still got to reteach myself all of the old concepts. For example, here, I knew that there was a chance I was going to get ganked. But in my mind, I was like, bro, like, there's no way I'm going to die. Now here I messed up. I queued the LeBlanc instead of queuing Nunu. I get very lucky here. Now, even if I died, I don't think it was the end of the world, because the wave was pushed in already. But, yeah, that was quite troll. I didn't think they had the damage to kill me, but I guess they did, especially with the Ignite. But my Vi came in clutch, and, yeah, we did not die. Now, once you reach this stage of the game, all you have to do is chill. You don't have to force anything. All you do is you push mid, and try to be available in skirmishes and fights. There's a lot of different types of games. There are some games where there's gonna be a lot of fights. Here, for example, that was basically just a free kill. And there are some games where the game is very slow-paced, not a lot is happening. And those are the games where, actually, in my opinion, you can have the most impact. You have more impact in slow games than you do sometimes in fast-paced games. Because in fast-paced games, things are very chaotic. Things can happen outside of your control. Whereas in slow-paced games, you have a lot more control to dictate what happens. And usually, if you're the only one that wins your lane, your teammates will listen to you most of the time. So here, you have to really enter into the psychology of the enemy mid laner that you're playing against. You can see that they were already roaming out of frustration. We can also tell that Xayah is probably frustrated as well. So understanding this is important because it allows you to pick up more kills. So for example, LeBlanc is definitely tilted at this point, so she's going to make more mistakes. The enemy bot lane is going to be tilted as well, so they're going to make more mistakes as well. And yeah, we're gonna take advantage of that. Now, once you get to this point of the game, there's a few things that you can do. In my opinion, and remembering what I used to do when I was challenger on Kassadin, what you want to do is play for tier 2 turrets. This is not why I did this game, by the way, but I'm saying this in hindsight. It's way better to just, for example, go top lane here, ignore the fiesta as much as I possibly can. For example here, right? If my team's already fighting, then it's fine for me to go mid. But in my opinion, going to the most isolated lane, for example top or bot, and just ignoring my team. The reason why top would be better here is because the next objective is Drake. And trying to get that tier 2 turret is way more valuable than anything else that I could do. Because what you can do is you can accelerate your level 16. You can create a level of pressure on the side lane that will remain almost for the rest of the game. So that's, in my opinion, what the most consistent play that you can make, especially in low masters. I think once you get like GM Chell, grouping with your team is better. But once you're in these lower ranks, and you guys might be like, oh wait, but this is mid masters. I consider masters lower rank, not because it's a lower rank literally, but because there's a lot of unpredictability that happens in low masters. People like to play for kills a lot. For example here, I'm basically playing for kills myself, so it's a bit funny that I say that, but people play for things that just don't really make sense. And you can end up dying, you can end up throwing way easier because of these, you know, fights. Everyone just wants to fight all the time. And for example, if you look at this fight here, right? Look at the top waves. How many top waves have been lost during this fight for Drake. I can count maybe 4 or 5 waves. So if I just went top right now, I would have more gold. I would end up taking the turret, which is even more gold, on top of the CS. I'd have more EXP. I'd be closer to level 16, sorry, not 13. And the game would have been better for me. Rather than me joining this fight over Drake, where, you know, I can die, we can throw, and we're giving the enemy team a chance to come back. And you guys might be like, okay, but what if your team dies without you being there? Well, if that happens, then you've messed up. Why? Because you should be in a position where you have already pushed in the wave before the objective spawns. So that if your team does end up dying, you would have accumulated so much gold on your own in the sideline that you would literally match the amount of gold that the enemy team has gotten on your own. So you're basically funneling into yourself. Now, if your team is ahead, that probably won't even happen, because usually someone's going to come and try to match you, but sometimes they don't, and the first scenario that I just said happens. Now, at this point in the game, throws usually always happen. Like, it's almost a rule at this point in this elo that something bad is going to happen. Now, you can try to prevent it running around like a headless chicken. For example, here, right? We can see that Vi backed off, Aatrox is bot, I'm not there, but my team is still pushing up. I tried to join here, which was, in my opinion, another mistake. And this is what I mean by being drawn into the fiesta. Look, I'm level 13. If I just played for myself, I would be level 15 by now. Right? So here, I end up losing so much. I lose my flash, but more importantly, I lose time. I lose tempo. I could have pushed mid. I could have destroyed T2 mid turret by now, instead of joining this fiesta. And this is something that, you know, a mistake that I've been doing a lot, and I'm honestly only seeing it here, watching this play here, is just be very tunnel visioned on your win condition. Your win condition is getting level 16, right? And in Master Tier, it doesn't matter, even if you play, you know, different champions, you don't want to be grouping all the time like this with your team. Because eventually, you will lose a team fight, and then you're going to throw the game. For example, here, look. This almost threw the game for me. I joined this fight. Jax completely outplays us. Well, he right-clicks us to death. And now we've given 2 really big shutdowns to Jax, which almost lost us the game. So, I played it really well, played laning phase well, but now I'm completely messing up my macro, and I wanted to show this game specifically where I messed up, just to teach you guys a lesson from my mistake. So now, you know, I remember, guys, when I was challenger with Kassadin, I would play early game well, I would focus on my early laning phase, make sure my team doesn't fall behind, and then once mid game comes, I will rush level 16. I mean, look at this game. I'm level 15. It's 23 minutes in, and I've inted. So if I didn't int, I could have been level 16 by minute 21. So here I'm kind of, you know, running around the map. I'm trolling a little bit. You know, I don't think I can die. They weren't really close to killing me. I still have my shield. I have tenacity, so I'm fine. And look, I've pushed for like a minute, and I'm almost level 16. So here I'm going to get the wave. And now I'm level 16, and I'm going to show you guys how to play these fights now. Now, I went Zhonya's. In my opinion, Zhonya's is really good. And I'm just going to try to ult on as many people as possible. Here, you know, I'm just 3-man ulting them. Xayah comes in. I go on the Xayah. I ult in. I look to ult to dodge skill shots. That's also really important as well. When you play Kassadin, you want to, you know, use your R to go in and out a lot. You don't want to just tunnel vision on doing damage. Because what happens is when you ult in, people all, you know, panic and they want to focus you as fast as possible. And then what you want to do after is you want to ult out of the fight. Just so that you can, you know, distract the enemy. And that's what I mean by being a disruptor. If you look at that fight, I wasn't doing that much damage. But I was doing very slow progressive damage, which stacks up, and more importantly, I was a big threat to the enemy team and they have to kill me, which allows me to, you know, make plays on the Zaya there where I ult out of her feathers, for example. Well, now that the game is over, you know, LeBlanc has sold her items, but I think it's still very important to learn from my mistakes this game, which are basically, the main mistake is to not join Fiesta so much. You know, like once you play Kassadin, you have to understand what your win condition is. Each champion has a different win condition. For example, when you play Orianna, it's better for you to join as many fights as possible. You do want to go side lane sometimes, but joining fights is usually good. But when you play champions such as Kassadin, champions such as Twisted Fate even, which I'll probably make a video about soon, you don't play in that way. Now, I just want to show you guys this one fight here, because even though, you know, the enemy is trolling, we can still learn something. I go on Zaya here, you know, in, out, just like that. REQ, and then you go back in. Now she's gonna, you know, I knew she was gonna flash. I used my R to dodge. Whenever Zaya plays very confidently in this way, they usually have flash up, you know, especially when they don't have R, because she just ulted. So, yeah, you know, use your R to dodge. Don't just use it to damage. Use it to distract and to create pressure. Use your R to prevent damage. So let's say my R does 500 damage. What's better, dealing 500 damage or preventing 1000 damage? But anyways, guys, I hope this video was useful. Please let me know, and I'll see you guys next time.